Well, welcome everyone.
Did we all make it?
We all made it. I may glitch out. I'm having an ice storm in my area, and I've power surged and broke down like 3 times in the past hours. Literally right before we were about to start the show, which is the reason that we're late. But I got the flamingo glass, so if that happens, I may glitch out and freeze, and then I'll be back in like a few minutes, and that's all I can really say. Blood and teeth, what's happening?
And the reason for the other 70 episodes, we're just a little tardy.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, everybody.
We got the Retro Advisory Board. How are you feeling, sir?
I am feeling great. I am at an undisclosed location in upstate New York, just trying to get some snow and playtime for the kids. They got a week off from school, so.
Camaro! Nice. Yeah, that was weird. I was in Go Game Go, and I couldn't see Camaro. But now I can see him, so that's fine. Next Level Gaming. Nick, how are you doing today, by the way?
I don't know.
What's up, Casey? You don't know?
It's been an interesting week. I've been on call, so you guys are having power failures, and I may have to start off at any time from work. Hoping that doesn't happen. So
could be a short show, folks.
Could be a really, really, really short show. I've been working frantically to try to get a video done.
Captain M.
And it's been driving me crazy. It's been multiple hours a day editing.
Yeah.
And I'm not working, trying to get this thing done. It's still probably going to take me
back from the dead.
God, a while. I don't know if I'll get into my Friday or not. I would like to. I just have no idea if I'll be able to hit that mark. My goal was like, can I get it by Friday? But
you got the old vintage photos, Brian.
Happy Ash. Oh, it's Ash Wednesday. I told everyone I'd forget. Sneed was like, make sure you get ashes. I was like, oh, I'm going to be recovering all day. I literally have just gotten my wind.
Thank you. My wife brought me food.
Oh, there's food.
There's food.
We may or may not have heard Salisbury steak.
So how do I drink this without having the flamingo poke me in one of my eyes?
Munch.
Not sponsored.
Use the straw?
There's not a straw.
There was supposed to be a straw with it, I think.
No, this is solid glass.
No, there's supposed to be a straw that you put in it.
Oh.
A straw and umbrella. You're missing a few accessories.
Well, I guess I could put a straw in it, but until then,
there was supposed to be a straw.
Ow.
Is my understanding.
Ow. Ow.
She hasn't sat down yet. Wait till she's sitting down before you stab yourself in the eye.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm going to set this down here. I don't even know what this is. You guys didn't know I just came off of my Polish Pączki celebration. Look at that. And a friend of mine, my friend Amy, removed this advertisement from one of the bars, and I want to keep this. I literally want to. I have a drinking problem. Yeah. I literally want to frame this and have it hung in my basement because I just love this brandy. It's delicious.
Okay, so we won't say stole. Your friend Amy burglarized the bar. Gotcha.
Yeah, totally stole.
It was great.
And hi, by the way, Luke.
We are all just happy Geek Sorian is alive and with us. We didn't think he'd make it this week.
And I could be glitching out at any moment with the ice storm. It's gonna be, and Nick could be taken off to work, and then it's just Rab. What you gonna do? The flamingo butt serves as a straw. Really? Let me try. Oh, wait a second. I'm not falling for that. What if I turned it this way? No.
I'm pretty sure the pictures we had, it was supposed to actually come with a straw.
I don't know.
So I don't know if you misplaced the straw or it didn't actually come with a straw, but I would get a straw.
How did I get by? I was drinking like whiskey out of it like a couple weeks ago.
Don't look at me, man. I have no idea how you. I think I was actually out that week.
I think I just have to go like this. You tilt the head back instead of tilting the glass back. See, we're okay now. We got our flamingos in a row. Speaking of,
how many podcasters does it take to figure out a piece of glassware? We don't know. They can't figure it out.
More than 3, or not these 3.
Speaking of topics, Hey, Atari Creep in the house. Our chat poll is up, and if you haven't known,
Casey's in the chat as well. Hey, Casey, how you doing?
Me,
I saw Atari Creep saying hi to Casey. That's how I knew he was there.
So we have
Casey, go ahead.
And Casey, good to see you, by the way. Which we have a poll up that says which of these games deserves a remake, and I just put 4 randoms. They could be my favorites. It doesn't matter. I have the right to do that. The first one is Bonk's Adventure. Second one is Rygar. Third one is Truxton, and the fourth one is SSX Tricky, which is that snowboarding one. Was huge on the PS5 and Xbox, original Xbox. But I would love to see any of these. Yeah, I'd have to go with Bonks on this, although I can't vote because I was one that made it. But Bonks is leading at almost 60%. So, anyways,
don't you have like 15 alt accounts? How do those polls go?
He does have 15 to 20.
I could, but I'm not. You're not supposed to let people know about that, though. But just kidding.
Did I say 1.5? I meant 1.5.
Yeah.
These poll choices are like all over the board.
Speaking of all over the board, we have a couple topics. And I think our first one, I think you guys are going to just love. You're going to love them. Remakes and remastered. Talking about games, video games, and to be exact. All right.
I feel like that joke just crashed before it ever took off.
It did. Yeah, it sure did. It just like, whoops. Oh, it's right. Gotta go. You don't want to get hit with a flamingo in the eye, is what a wise man once said.
I'm expecting to hear my wife start laughing from the other room because I know she sits there and watches the stream.
It's very twisty.
It is very twisty. It's actually a really nice looking glass. It's just a very impractical glass.
Did you guys notice I'm wearing my Amico hat and my Amico shirt?
You saw that. I also saw you wearing a lot of beads, which I will not ask or you to disclose how you got said beads.
I from doing a lot of this. Literally, that's how I got the beads. I'm not gonna...
So, good evening to everyone in the chat. I know we've been a little lax about saying hi about
Paradox there. Yeah, it is. World is rab again.
But hi to everybody who came in who we've missed so far.
Yes.
It's always a pleasure to have you guys here with us on Wednesday.
I cannot see chat. We only see what's pulled up, as you know, on this channel. So, but anyways,
so we do have two topics for you guys tonight. We want you guys to kind of be thinking about them as we're kind of talking about them on the panel and pipe in as you guys see fit. One is going to be the retro masters and remakes, and if you go ahead and bring up the second topic so they can kind of see that and be thinking about that as well.
Yeah.
The second one.
I want to thank Casey, by the way, for the $4.99 super chat, dude. That's awesome. Thank you so much,
Casey.
Casey just recently sent me an LTO flash for my Intellivision, and D2K and Super Cobra. I got a bunch of content coming up on that. I literally just started loading up the LTO flash with ROMs. If anyone doesn't know what that is, it's for the Intellivision, the old classic one. It's a cartridge that you can hook up to your Intellivision. You download content to it from your computer, and then you plug it into your 1979 master component, and it pulls up a whole library of as many games as you can fit on it, right? But yeah, our other topic tonight is going to be retro in the modern era. So talking about how the retro scene has kind of influenced the modern games. You see this a lot in a lot of the indie games, a lot of the, I guess you could say some of the pixel art games, some of the simple art style stuff. And I think that's been going on for a few years now, but yeah, I think it really has influenced, but that'll be our next one. So starting on the first one, we kind of are talking about this a little bit in our poll, but what would you guys like to see? And we'll obviously go with Nick. What would you like to see remade or remastered? Like one of your favorites, or just one you think didn't get enough?
I'll be honest. I'm kind of with you on Rygar to an extent. I know it kind of had a little bit of a remake that was kind of 3D.
Like 360, I think, did one.
I would like to see like more of a 2.5D kind of remake, or maybe a mix between the two, where some stages are more overhead or 3D and some of them are more side-scrolling, kind of like Contra. I think that could work out really well. Or something that's more of a spiritual successor, because you've seen a lot of that with the modern, indie scene with stuff like Blazing Chrome kind of taking on the mantle of like a lot
Contra.
of that Contra itch, right? So something along those lines would be great. Or another
You're saying like
take
2.5D style, or
yeah,
like where it's not going full 3D.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you guys ever played the Strider 2 game that came out. I want to say the PlayStation 1, but the stages
I saw you were streaming that, and it looked fantastic.
Yeah, they look kind of 3D, but they're not. They don't really play them in 3D, and they look great. It adds a nice dynamic to the stages. So I think something like that would be really good. I would like to see somebody take on a spiritual successor or something to Bionic Commando. I know they did like a revisit of that a while back, but they've not done anything with it since. And for the love of God, Nintendo, please do something with Kid Icarus.
Yeah, thank you. I would love to see that. Yeah, I mean, they've done the heck out of Metroid. Not that I don't mind that.
Well, they don't do Metroid as much as I would like to see them do Metroid. They've done more this year than they've done in like
they did Metroid Dread. They're doing Metroid Prime Remaster.
Yeah, so right now it's getting some love, which is great.
What, Samus Returns?
Yeah, that was
the
8 or 9 years ago. I want to say that was like mid 3DS, right?
No, that was on Switch. Or no, it was on.
Sure? No, it was 3DS. Man.
It was on. Yeah, it was 3DS. You're right.
Yeah, it was 3DS.
But it came out in the Switch era.
Oh well, yeah, it came out within the Switch era, but it was on, which is kind of weird because you would think they would completely focus on the Switch, but they did that one for the 3DS, and a lot of that influenced a lot of the mechanics in Dread. Like if you play that one, you'll see the bones of that in Dread. It's almost like they used it as a dry run for Dread.
Well, they had that whole. Indie hack production of the remake of Metroid 2, Samus Returns, and that became kind of
I gotta get
a cease and desist, and they remade that game.
I'm actually about to just give up and double dip because I went looking for Metroid Prime today in physical copy, and the 3DS Kid Icarus was really good.
Uprising. Yeah.
I want to get it. I want to get another copy of it because I can't find my copy of it now. I know I didn't sell it or trade it, so I've lost it somehow.
Hey Claudio, how you doing?
So I kind of want to buy another copy before I can't get my hands on it again. I don't want a physical copy. But speaking of physical copies, I went looking for a physical copy for Metroid Prime today, and it's like nowhere in town. So I'm about to just say to heck with it and keep my Amazon Prime order, which is now telling me March 27th to get the game. I'm going to get released today. What are you talking about? Why is it going to take you over a month to give me the game?
Well, Brian said there is rumors of Kid Icarus coming out, maybe a remake of the 3DS.
I would actually like to see them bring that to the Switch because, honestly, I would rather play that with dual analogs than to use the stylus the way they did it. Don't get me wrong. I love that game. It's a lot of fun, but it can be very challenging to play because of the control scheme at times.
Yeah.
Sure.
No, I would love to see something like that.
For a few years, but Nintendo has not said a word.
What about you, Rab? What would you like to see remade or remastered or rebooted? I guess this would be more remake, remaster kind of.
I guess I didn't understand that what we were going with this one, so I really didn't have
I was thinking more along the lines of, are we tired of them? Are there any that were like outliers that we still want to see, but more talk about the difference between just kind of a remake and a full remaster, right?
Like the Ghostbusters was remastered for modern, basically cleaning up graphic wise as much as they could.
Right, and some of these are almost complete remakes, like Final Fantasy VII. Right, they've almost completely restructured that game when they made it. And which would you rather see done?
Or the Resident Evils, or I know Silent Hill 2 is coming
stuff like
out
that. That was more the way I originally thought about
Shadow
the question.
of the Colossus. Yeah. I mean,
I was just thinking of like stuff they need to just completely remake, like to remake the very first, like we're talking about Rygar, to watch what's Big Block says, long live Nick, you cannot smite him, you cannot diminish his psyche, he will continue steadfastly. Luke did a super chat earlier for $2.31 to make sure you stay alive during this stream.
Luke is single-handedly trying to keep me alive for less than
another week.
But he will never go over 350.
No, that's too much.
We need a special guest to come on and say for like only $2.31 a week you can keep Nick alive.
Sponsor Nick. If anyone does a super chat, make sure it's for
only pennies an hour.
Geeks survived. But yeah, stuff like,
what is he eating?
I don't know. He's already done, I think.
Me, I have a Salisbury steak, mashed potatoes, and I had some carrots. I already finished the carrots.
So for less of the cost than that.
Yes.
Let's get him something better than actually, I love Salisbury steak.
It's a really good Salisbury steak. I'm pretty happy with it.
When I think of Salisbury steak, I think of like the ones from school. That's why I think.
Oh no! This one's
obviously this is a real.
This one's actually a much better Salisbury steak than the ones from school, or most of the ones
Coast
that I
Recon,
actually see
Stacey
out.
says.
Quick answer to your question, Chuck, earlier about like what I would like to see if I had a short answer. I think from the NES era, obviously Rygar already had a little bit of treatment. Kid Icarus already had a little bit of treatment. I'd love to see Wizards and Warriors get treatment. We saw how fun bouncing around with Shovel Knight can be.
Yeah,
done correctly. And I just think that was like that's just such a bouncing element of that game would be fun, and it's something that is just it's not so much completing the quest as it is just discovering where all the hidden stuff is and surviving the onslaught. So I think it's a perfect little mix between like something of a shooter, because you got stuff coming at you from every angle all over the screen, and kind of find the hidden pieces around and get through the stage. So I think something like that would be an interesting take. I don't see too many games take that new direction, so that'd be my pick. Other than that, something pre-NES era, I think there's just a lot of stuff that gets orphaned. A lot of the developers today are kids that grew up on the NES, on the Super Nintendo, on the Genesis, and you see a lot of those sort of remakes over the past 15 years. But the older stuff, it's like there's so much to do that could have been done, but the hardware couldn't do it at the time. You couldn't make, more in-depth games than you had. So I'd love to see those get remade.
Yeah, that's what Scepter Sever is saying. Oh my God. PJ Smith with 1999. Nick is risen. Hallelujah.
Single-handedly getting your income each week now. It's ridiculous. We had a bunch of suggestions that came up in chat. Somebody said Banjo-Kazooie.
PJ, thank you. Awesome.
And honestly, any of those N64 games kind of remade for the more modern era, I think it'd be really interesting. Mostly just because
remake or as like a retake.
I want to say more of a retake, because I mean I think they've done it twice now, because they had that collection pack where you had Mario 64 on physical copy that you got with the collection, but it was just a port, right? And then I think they also put it on the N64 collection thing that they've got for their service as well. But I would like to see them do like a full HD treatment with like more modern graphics and maybe expand on those stages, because those stages were really cool and dynamic as you went back through them again and again and again. So it'd be cool to see what they could do that way with a larger scale.
Didn't they do a Mario 64 on the
here you
DS
go, Mega Man remade with the Mega Man 11 style.
They did that on the DS as well. They absolutely did. I had forgotten about that because I never picked that one up. I did pick up Ocarina of Time on there, which I think a lot of people would like to see remastered or remade as well.
What did Scepter and someone before we were kind of getting into?
Scepter was saying Hudson Games.
Yes. Hudson Games. Yes. Who was before that though? There was
Adventure, and honestly, it was something like Adventure, or even I want to say it was called Venture.
But Hudson Games. Oh my God!
I wouldn't mind seeing those.
Bomberman.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing some of these like Adventure or Venture taken in as kind of a similar retro style, maybe go as far as 8-bit with it, but make it VR. I think that could be a really cool experience.
Like I know Atari Creep could talk about what they did with Haunted House on the Atari 50th celebration.
That was cool. There you go, Luke. Poker Risque remake. It's only been out for a month or two. I've just had a flash. I might go out.
You're still here, kind of.
Whoa, no, I mean, my lights here are flashing at the same time. You're probably...
I know, I can see it.
Did we lose him?
I think we lost him. I think he froze. It's going to be an interesting night, folks.
So another thing about that guy that just drives me nuts. Who brings a flamingo drink without a straw to the podcast?
I swear that, and when we saw the picture of that, it had a straw. So I don't know what happened to the straw. But I'm almost certain it was supposed to come with a straw. Oh, Pitfall. That's a good one.
Yes.
I don't know about Dirk's Adventure. I do remember Pitfall. And they kind of did. They kind of did Pitfall a little bit. Didn't they do one on the Xbox,
the Super
or
Nintendo,
360?
and then again on I think the 360 had a Pitfall remake.
It's been a long time though. Hey, Hasselhoff, good to see you, man. Yeah, it's been a long time since they've done a Pitfall, so I could see that coming back. I can see him. Yeah, Born. The storm kind of grabbed him. I don't know if he's going to try to come back like he did before, if he's just going to use his phone, so because it won't be quite as susceptible to the.
He's gonna dial in on the Merlin. It's all good.
I can see that.
It's gonna sound like a TI speak and spell, but we will have Chuck back at some point.
So it's DJC's turn to die this week. Yeah, apparently I didn't know we were taking turns, and I didn't know I was going to be dead. So
I'm back.
Hey, in the afterlife, you were pulling in there, buddy.
Apparently,
because of your donations. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, apparently you were dead. Captain N is having a moment of silence for your death.
Now we as a podcast turn into a scam.
If I go out again, I'll try. I'll try to come back one more time. But if it happens another time after that, I'm going on my phone.
And we reminisce about DJ.
Took a while.
Such a great leader, strong-willed, powerful yet kind. So they've gone from me dying to you dying. Hey, Cameron, how you doing?
Hasselhoff.
Yeah, Hasselhoff popped in while you were dead.
Hey, that's why I got these beads, man.
Is it the rapture? Y'all out there wrestling for the grave.
Yes. An altered beast. Has Altered Beast been remade?
I don't think I've seen
anybody do. I would love to see a new version of that.
But that's one of the things. Like, we have the classic games are always going to be classic, and of course they're going to be like the prime picks to get remakes. But I'd really love to see the games that maybe were not executed so well, and they have the core of something good. Altered Beast obviously had something interesting there. It was pretty interesting for its time. Graphics wise, we didn't see anything else like that at the time, but
very fun game.
I think Golden Axe,
but also very short
as well.
Yeah, I had the arcade, like stand-up arcade, and me and my buddy won it within like 45 minutes. Like, because when you have
with endless quarters, you can do anything.
Yeah, you can pretty much do that quickly.
But is there a place? Is there a place for the remakes of the games that may not have had the best sale? Like, would they sell?
Depends on how you approach it, right? I think you could take, and that's really kind of what I would like to see done. Is some of these that were like. It's the same way people were talking about with movies. Like, stop remaking the ones that were good, because those are still good.
Yeah.
Right? Those are still really good games.
It's awesome.
Take some of the ones that were duds and revisit them and make them something good.
And see what happens if you polish them.
Right.
I'd like to introduce you to Super Mega Graphics, Super Duper. You guys would really get along.
I think they would be so catty at each
other. One more quarter. What's happening? Good to see you. We were just talking about an arcade. Just one more quarter. Unlimited one more quarters, to be exact.
Evening, Mr. Coinage.
POV Rally X remake. Did you see they're doing an Intellivision homebrew of Rally X now? That's coming in. It looks really close to the arcade. I mean, it was a simple game to begin with, but looks really cool. I can't wait to play it.
But question for the chat, because I can't think of an example. I mean, has anyone really dug for? Is there a recent remake that is just like escaping me, that someone has tried to go out on a limb for a game that was sort of just an odd duck, didn't really do well in the sales the first time around, and
I'm trying to think of ones, and I'm kind of drawn. I know there's been some, but
here you go, Stacy. Remake the RE2600 game so it looks like the box art, like, because you could do that these days. You
actually could do
that craziness, like other people running around, and like, can you imagine Berserk, like a game like Berserk with the robots all coming at you in 3D or something? Oh, Boy and His Blob, I thought just got re-released. It wasn't remade, but it was re-released, I guess. So that would be cool. What's up, Select Gaming?
Yeah, I'm kind of drawing a blank on some of those.
Yes, there you go.
I'm sure somebody's tried to approach some of them, but I think people have so much nostalgia for like the good classics, and there's so many of them that people aren't going, well, why don't I go back to Adventure Island and try to make that like, 10 times cooler than it was, stuff like that.
It's just very interesting to me because I think there's, obviously you can only remake the hits. So, every 10 years you could go and remake them again for each new generation. But, at some point you have diminishing returns of how much better you can make the graphics between, the graphics of 2023 and the graphics of 2016. You're not going to get that much bang for your buck, especially for an old game where you're not making it hyper realistic. But there are a lot of other games out there that, could be a potential hit, maybe, with a little bit more knowledge of game mechanics of today and things that work and making some tweaks. Yeah. I don't know. It would just be interesting.
Wild
and
I
think The Boy and His Blob was remade on the Wii.
Oh, was it? Okay. There was so much stuff that popped up on the Wii that I missed because it was on the main store, and I always miss the online store. Somebody mentioned Wild 9, and I don't remember Wild 9. I think that was PlayStation.
On PlayStation. Yeah, that was PlayStation.
That's why, because I never had a PlayStation. So that's probably why that I missed it. But there are a bunch of like RPGs and stuff like that were on the PlayStation. A couple of them got remixed, like I would say Medieval, but I think Medieval actually got like revisited.
It was almost a complete remake. It wasn't. They didn't deviate too much from it.
Yeah, there was a spiritual successor to Ghost and Goblins called Arthur or something like that. That was kind of like a 3D version of that would be cool to kind of see again, because that didn't really go very far. Stuff
and that
like
was on
that.
Like PS2 or was that on PS1?
It was PS1 or PS2. I can't remember. I just remember hearing about it, and I'm like, that's a cool idea. I didn't even know that was a thing, right?
Yeah, and Ghost and Goblins now has like Ghost and Goblins.
Yeah, Resurrection. Yeah. So, I mean, Capcom's kind of gone back to some of those, but I mean, there's a lot of things from there's a lot of IPs that people like LGN had. Maximo. That's it, Born. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
That was PlayStation 2.
I'm on my phone now because we're having rolling brownouts now. I'm still alive thanks to all your donations. No.
And T-Mobile, who is not sponsoring this podcast.
It's beardly face, no sleeve man. This is weird. I'm not echoing or anything, am I?
No, you're fine.
No. Okay, cool.
And you know what? You know what? This is not a remake or a remaster. But dadgummit, Nintendo, do something with Captain N. Make a freaking game with Captain N. Make it a cartoon type game with Captain N, please.
Yeah, do you think like now, because all of those, I mean, Konami and Capcom, I mean, Capcom had Mega Man, Konami had Simon Belmont, they're just, there's no effort to kind of revisit that.
I don't know. I think you could do it with like new characters. You wouldn't have to have those same characters. You could use mostly Nintendo characters if you wanted to, and slowly work in licenses to use likenesses of those characters if you wanted to. But you could start it out with just Nintendo IPs. It's not like there's a huge shortage of them.
Jet Moto, that'd be... Dude, what about Jet Set Radio Future? I know this is like the second time I brought this up this week.
Jet Set Radio or Jet Grind Radio, either one of those would be great.
That would be great to redo
Jet
something
Set,
like that.
I think, was Dreamcast, and Jet Grind, I think, was Xbox. And then I think that franchise...
Jet Set Radio Future was Xbox. I think it was on that, and... Was it on both, or was it just on Xbox? Was it on PS2 as well?
I want to say it was PlayStation as well.
But Jet Moto, I'm sorry, that's what Stacy's saying, Jet Moto, but I just reminded me of a Jet Set, yeah.
But there's a bunch of those that didn't really take off or find their stride.
A lot of those 60, well, they just did, speaking of like Amico's bro saying Castlevania 64, like, a lot of those, the N64 things could be redone the way they probably meant them to be. Yeah. Like, if you were really, I know they're re-releasing them and cleaning them up. I was sort of impressed with, Mike was playing on NLG, was playing GoldenEye, like redone, I guess, or re-released, but I guess I don't know if the frames per second or everything was changed, but it's, I don't know. It looked nice. I don't know if I think a lot of people are saying it didn't play is crazy. Oh, I got to find how I check private chat on here. I have no clue. I guess I'll find out. But yeah, I don't know. Like there's a lot of those I wouldn't mind seeing like cleaned up. Like if you were to take like say,
did we seriously just lose him off his phone? Wow!
I told you he needs to come in on the Merlin.
Clean it up. You know.
We lost you for like 3 seconds.
Are you serious? Oh, I was going to say.
I'm not even kidding.
All right. So Super Mario 64, I was going to say if they could clean it up like graphically, but keep the same game, you know, like almost it would be a remake, but we kept the same sort of idea for the gameplay. You guys lose me again.
No, we've got you. You're just a little.
You froze.
Okay.
You're intermittent.
Big Block is saying Parappa the Rapper needs to make a comeback.
Oh,
and I never really got into like Rhythm
What
Games,
about
but
this
I can see
rapper?
people having fun with that. And Rocket Knight is another good suggestion that came from Amico
they just announced the Samba de Amigo sequel on the Switch. So
I
could
can
see
see that
something like
working
that
out really well. Yeah.
Yep, with the Joy-Cons, I could see it working.
Here's one that's not too old that I think could probably use a revisit. This one's from the Wii, Zack and Wiki.
Yes.
It was a point-and-click adventure game on the Wii that I thought had a lot of really cool character to it, and most people slept on it.
Yeah, agreed.
Sorry, I'm like trying to get
Unjammer Lammy? I don't even think I've even heard of that one. Most of these I've at least heard of. That one I haven't. Brad, I'm drawing a blank on that one.
Unjammer, it sounds like something for the
Jack Ryan, yeah.
Saturn or PlayStation. I don't know.
I mean, sure, cool, but I'm not familiar enough with it to know much about that one offhand. But then me in the PlayStation era, me in the PlayStation in general, everything. I'm like, sure, why not? Let's do it.
Yeah, I love the PlayStation. Just looking back, there isn't a lot that came from the PlayStation era that has been updated. When you look at Super Nintendo or Genesis or the regular Nintendo, or now PlayStation 2 is getting a lot of love.
Yeah,
but the original PlayStation, outside of like Spyro Reignited or Medieval, the Crash Insane trilogy, the Resident Evil remakes, I guess there's been a handful.
Yeah, there's been a few. Atari Creek mentions Blastow, which I saw for the first time. A buddy of mine, Stampede Gaming, was streaming that. And that's a guy that never, ever did leg day and only did he looked at Johnny Bravo, only in space. He may be where they got the idea for Johnny Bravo. Perfect Dark they are trying to do a Perfect Dark. Microsoft has dropped some hints on that and then some footage of it a while back, and then it went dead silent. So I don't know if it's in dev hell or what.
So you had a question earlier, Nick, about while the chat is going through some of the games they'd love to see get a remaster, reimagined, revisited, maybe is the thing we're looking for.
Yeah,
not necessarily a replay of something that we loved the first time around. Yeah, we all need new Pepsi Clear, man.
Cameron Hayes, thank you so much, man. That's so awesome.
Thanks,
I heard
Cameron.
Phil got some massive. My phone screen is also cracked, so this is gonna be great to read this. Licensing deals. Is it true? There was a buzz going around on the internet. I don't think any of that is confirmed, but I'm not sure.
Well, that has been.
What is it?
That has been confirmed. I think Phil had sent out an email last fall about some of the licensing deals that they were looking to announce, or deals that they were.
I know that they
I
were
don't
doing
think he
that
spelled
as
it out
far
as
as
licensing.
Okay, so that could be happening now if that's what you're talking about.
But
I thought he was saying like something recently. I'm not exactly sure of. But
I think there was some.
They were working on them, so
there was some recent scuttlebutt about something that was going on. I didn't read too much into it because there's always. That's all I can say, man. Because it's like we don't really hear anything coming out of the company itself right now, right?
So nothing. I don't think is official on what.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's all people trying to reach out through different sources, trying to mine for data right now. So I don't know if any of it's actually legit or official.
Yeah.
Because we're not
if
hearing
they
it
did,
from,
that's awesome.
we're not really
I
hearing
hope
anything from anybody at the company. I don't regularly talk to Phil. I don't regularly talk to Tommy. I know some of you guys talk to him a little bit more than I do. At least
I've
Phil.
reached out a few times, and I'm not really in a position to talk about a couple of the things that we've talked about. I mean, it's just not something I don't tend to tell things that people are working on if they have their own intentions to, release those plans. But
Booger Man.
Booger Man.
That's a great one.
I could see that working. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure I'm hoping we can hear something like that because that'd be great if that's confirmed as well, because it helps them. It really helps them.
And
Booger Man was a hilariously funny and gross and at the same time great little to redo that with modern graphics. It would make it so disgustingly great.
You know what might be fun is Vector Man. It got like 2 on the Genesis, and it was it would kind of push the boundaries, kind of like Donkey Kong Country did on the SNES, only for the Genesis. So I think something like that could be really neat. Remake of horse racing. I don't know if you can.
All about that.
I don't know if you can really mess with perfection. I mean, the work that's been done online with horse racing is
you just do a straight re-release.
So I would take a nice classic re-release.
Because I'll be honest, getting some older systems and trying to get them up and running is no easy task, and I don't expect like everybody out there to go and grab an old television, expect it to work on their TV right off the bat.
And we've talked about this before that somebody needs to make a controller like the Intellivision controller because it would work for ColecoVision, it would work for the 5200. There's a number of systems that could use a controller like that for for the emulator community and other communities to work with to make games compatible for it, whether they're Steam releases or working them with emulators or something. I think there's at least right now there's still a market for that.
Yeah, there's a guy that did it's something I want to pick up. I have to check if they're still available. So he does USB custom controllers, so they will work with everything, right?
Right.
He recently did a USB joystick, buttons, and number pad, like almost looks like a fight stick, but it's like an arcade setup for systems like Intellivision and ColecoVision and.
That's great. I'm glad there's something out there for those.
Something mods. I'll try to find it and drop it in the comments below when the show is over, because it's something I'm literally looking at going to purchase maybe even later on tonight. So I almost forgot about that. But yeah, so he pretty much made the number pad and then did, but it's just little buttons. And then they did the joystick. He said the only thing when he was demonstrating it, said the only thing with the joystick versus the disc on Intellivision, you're playing something that you actually do need precise 16 ways of movement, which is some of the games, not everything, but like bowling's one of them. To so many different curves, you have 16 different curves. You're only going to have 8, so it's your basics. So then you'd have the cool thing about that is a game like that you can actually adjust your ball landing and your loft and all that other stuff to make up for that. But to have that just to play some games you've never played for that you need an overlay. That is something that's I don't see why more third-party companies aren't cashing in on that. Even to sell 1 million, it would be worth it, you know?
And somebody mentioned we should go over favorite controllers at some point. I think that was Amico Pro.
Oh, yeah.
And that's another good topic for another day.
Yeah,
we haven't even gotten into the second topic yet, and we're 40 minutes in. So
just despite me, Dizzy. Can our producer pop up our second topic and pull down the banner of the other one? I have no control anymore. I have lost control, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm going hard on my Studio 2 for favorite. We're good.
I love the Intellivision controller. Once again, that's so we're on remakes and remasters. We got to go to retro in the modern era. Wow.
Right.
There we go. Thank you.
Retro so to kind of set the stage for this for you guys.
Yeah,
I came up with both of these questions this week. Is more what I was talking about is where the indie scene has kind of picked up the torch and taken off with a lot of the games that a lot of us enjoyed as kids and made them fun for a new generation by updating the animation, making the sprites look cleaner, but still keeping that 16, 32-bit and even 8-bit look. Because you'll see tons of new kids playing stuff like Shovel Knight, Blasphemous, Dead Cells, stuff like that has a very retro-inspired look and feel to it. And should AAA start getting in on this? And where should they dive in?
I mean, look at Xenocrisis. That's a perfect example of like a retro look with a brand new game.
So that's more where my headspace was when I brought up this question. So a lot of audience participation on this would be kind of interesting. Yeah. Which areas do you think that they picked up a lot on? Which ones would you like to see them pick up more on? Are there certain games, like even some of the ones that we mentioned previously, that you would like to see somebody do like spiritual successors to, right? Kind of like how Symphony of the Night spiritual successor is Bloodstained, right? And then they tried to do a Mega Man spiritual successor with Mighty Number 9.
Or not, yeah, Mighty Number 9.
Stacy had a good point there, too.
And
you're talking like almost D-makes right here. Like to see a modern game put on a system that could like to redo something modern on an NES or a classic.
D-makes are also a cool thing, because I
think so, too.
I saw somebody playing a NES D-make of Final Fantasy VII, and I thought that was really cool. Where my headspace goes with those is taking something more modern, putting it more closer to, I'd almost say the 16-bit era is kind of the butter zone, because I think that's where the 16 and 32-bit eras, I think, where pixel graphics were at their best, right?
I want to see a D-make
on, like, when it comes to pixel graphics,
where you're looking at like the games on calculators.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a Final Fantasy VII Final Fantasy 9 on a calculator. That'll be cool.
Somebody got Doom running on.
I just know the silly things you can spell on a
should never run on.
Yeah.
Trying to fire up my desktop again. I haven't seen anything flashing in a bit, so we'll see if I can pop back on there.
But yeah, D-makes could almost be their own topic. Like, what games would you like to see?
There you go. Atari Creep saying Halo 2600. Yeah. Look at Televania. Televania, I always mention. That's a fantastic feat. And once again, I think we were watching it like off air when we were talking a few shows ago about stuff like that, classic stuff or homebrew. That there is a version of the full game of Super Mario Brothers out there on an Intellivision, and it almost looks like NES with the exception of some shading and solid colors used.
And then there's been a lot of work. There's been a lot of work of pulling things into the Doom engine too. Like Zelda got pulled into the Doom engine.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Castlevania got pulled into the Doom engine. There's a bunch of stuff like that that's going on.
Punch-Out they did on the Doom engine.
In a totally different direction, which is kind of cool and interesting to see.
Do you think Paper Mario kind of stole Super Mario RPG's thunder, Monstar?
I think I do. I don't know what his opinion is, but I'd
love to see that. I think on one hand, I think like we are in the best of times right now. Like all of the greatest classic games are getting revisited and getting remade. Not all of them, but a lot of these old classic games are getting revisited and remade. And you have the indie scene has really taken up the mantle over the last 12, 13, 14 years, with AAA going all in on high-res graphics and on, hyper realism, photorealism, and making these sprawling big games. The indie scene has kind of said, like, hey, we do like going back to shooters. So we've seen a resurgence in shooters. We do like beat 'em ups. So we've seen a resurgence in beat 'em ups, in platformers, all these genres that have been ignored by AAA publishing. I think, the indie scene has taken up that mantle. But I do kind of wonder if we do we go too much back to the well on some of those, too much back to,
I'm back so far.
Super Nintendo.
Welcome back. No, I wouldn't mind seeing them
homages.
I mean, go ahead and move to Intellivision and try to bring that to 16-bit, or take a PlayStation 1 game and try to
Mario.
A PlayStation 2 game or something like that. That's fine. Mm-hmm. I think those are cool.
Heroes Quest.
I think even just coming up with something, looking at something and doing, like, say, a mashup of a couple of different games, right? Because you're seeing some of that in the indie scene. Like, you'll see like a Castlevania game get mixed up with like a shooter or something else like that. Various different Metroidvanias and other types of games where people have kind of mixed and mashed kind of genres together in ways that you wouldn't necessarily expect to work, but they end up working, right? Mm-hmm. So it's playing around with concepts and ideas and just kind of throwing it at the wall and seeing what sticks and what doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And I think my favorite thing about what they're doing today is no real art style is off limits. Like AAA tends to try to focus on high fidelity all the time. Like, let's make it more realistic. But I love it when somebody will go and do something like Hi-Fi Rush's cartoony look.
Hi-Fi Rush
right?
or Cuphead. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously
Streets
different
of
art
Rage
styles
4 is another example of something that went more cartoony and worked out really well. Blasphemous, as brutally painful as that game is, has some amazing pixel animation. Like the amount of fluidity and just the beauty of the movement and how much time it took to build every single one of those frames and animate all those pixels.
So Potion
to make that movement is amazing. So you're really seeing a lot of love for all kinds of crazy different art styles and new art styles that have come along. Like Journey is just kind of its own thing. Flower was just kind of its own thing. And those were more experiences than difficult games, but they were meaningful experiences when played by the right person, right? And I love.
I didn't even know they did a GameCube bonk, super duper retro gaming.
I had no idea it even had.
I remember the Super Nintendo one. I played it very briefly. Like I think I had an emulator. I'm gonna have to pull that back up, man, and see how. I did play the arcade version. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in here. I just saw that thing, but yeah, I have to check that out because that would be more or less a 16-bit. Well, I shouldn't say 16-bit remake because its TurboGrafx is sort of pretty much 16-bit. But yeah, no, I have to check that out because that looks like it would be something really cool to look at. Anyways.
So yeah, those are the kind of things that I was kind of thinking of, and if this becomes a different topic another time down the road, that's fine too. Probably.
Well, we all
probably
like
not real
soon,
soon,
comes up.
But
yeah. But one of the things that I'm kind of like, yes, we are doing everything and anything in the indie space that is not being tackled by the AAA. But and those indie games come out, they're $20, $30. They are much more affordable. They tend to be on multiple platforms. You don't see them too often exclusive to. I mean, you have some that are exclusive to Switch, some that are exclusive to, Xbox or PlayStation from that time to time. But for the most part, they're on Steam, they're on Switch, they're on Xbox Series X and S, they're on PS5, and yet the sales numbers for most of these tend to be. If you crack 500,000 for some of these indie games, you are a big deal. And yet that is like not enough to really get into the popular stream of thought. It's obviously they're not competing with AAA, but are they holding their own against, other newer games that are coming out, or are they
this question
catering to us as an older audience? Because I mean, the bestsellers.
Let me pose a question to you on that though. Is that due to just a lack of interest in the game, or is it just due to it not being backed by a big major studio and also having that marketing budget?
Is it also, that some of these do have that older retro aesthetic and they are catering to a more of a retro audience, and we tend to be a more limited slice of that audience?
That's possible too, but you got something like Hi-Fi Rush that looks very polished and very modern, but is done by an indie dev team.
Yeah, that's indie, but I mean, that's not necessarily retro.
I'm not even saying it's like retro, but it is.
That's
indie.
More of a comic book
and
aesthetic.
It's honestly, it's kind of almost an homage to like Jet Set Radio.
The shell-shaded sort of
height. Well, and even the way it works, because Jet Set Radio had very much kind of like a vibe and a groove to it. It wasn't necessarily a rhythm game, but you kind of felt like you were kind of in a rhythm and a flow when you're playing that game. Hi-Fi Rush leans right into that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And
the soundtracks
of those were amazing. For this, I was just kind of throwing that out there. I mean, I think yes, that the fact that AAA has a much bigger budget, obviously those games are going to break through every single time in comparison. I'm always worried that when we're looking at retro and bringing something back, they tend to have a look that is specifically to our aesthetic. And does that mean, I mean, I heard Nick, you had said earlier about you see a lot of younger kids that are gravitating towards some of these games. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I see a lot of, teenagers and early 20-somethings that are gravitating towards, The Messenger or Blasphemous or Hotline Miami or some of these other games. I mean, there's few and far between you see them kind of pop up, but I tend to see the people talking about these games tend to be an older crowd, and I think that is still very much tied together, and I don't know how they bridge that gap to get more early 20-somethings, people who did not grow up in the 16-bit or 32-bit or 8-bit era, interested in those games. I don't know if they are. I don't tend to see a lot of the fan bases of those games being skewing younger.
Well, I mean, not really young. I mean, if you're looking at like the age group I'm thinking for those is probably 17, 18 and above, right? You're not going to get like 12, 10, etc., that kind of stuff.
Anyways, we got to look at our poll. Let me pop this in here. So, chat, if you haven't taken part in the poll or the full, 52 votes in so far. We got, we're going to be ending it probably in about another couple minutes. We got Bonk's Adventure. This is what game deserves a remake. Bonk's Adventure, Rygar, Truxton, and SSX. I put Tricky because to me that was the biggest one of that. But right now we have Bonk's Adventure just destroying it at 52%. Rygar at 27%. Truxton and SSX are 8% and 13%. So it looks like it's between Bonks and Rygar right here, which two great series that I think definitely deserve something new. I really do think so. What do you guys think? Let us know. Got 2 minutes on that chat on that poll.
Yes.
I'm glad I'm not flickering and flashing because.
Me too, because I thought for a second it was just going to be like me here, and then somebody was going to call me to go to work, and I'm going to be like,
it's yeah. If we can get through the next 8 minutes, we're good. But anyways, while we let that poll go for a couple more minutes, I would like to see what is coming up on some channels. Nick, what you got coming up?
I had two things launched this week. I did a video that just launched today on the Captain Power Strikers. Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future was a in late 80s, early 90s live action show that was trying to cater to kids, but tried to cater to adults too. So it was kind of a bizarre little show that I thought had a really cool idea of effectively a light gun to play along with the show. So I wanted to cover that. That seems to have gone well, and there is work. The other thing I did was Moments of Gaming History. That's movie tie-in games, and I'm trying frantically to get the next evolution of series out. Let me mute for a second.
Sure.
And I'm going to go off camera.
No problem. So I have a thing coming up tomorrow for 3DO Thursdays. You'd think it'd be something exciting. No, it's not bad. So we're doing Dragon's Lair on 3DO. And new Ninja Gaiden done in 2D with newer technology. That would be cool. Which, I mean, so you're talking about NES version, but in with better graphics. Because, I mean, there was a PC Engine did a weird version of that as well, which is completely weird. Hey, Retro Dude Carl Young, good to see you. Some people like it, some people don't. I never really got too much into either, but I know that's legendary.
Yeah, I think the Messenger was a modern homage to Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah,
Gaiden.
Yeah.
Now I don't remember how I called it as a kid. Gaiden, Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah. So 2.5D, exactly. Kind of like that. That's what I loved about Sonic. Was it Sonic Mania? That had that, where they kept it, pretty much literally you thought you were playing a sequel to a Genesis game, or it was doing time hopping and stuff like that. Yeah, Scepter 7 says he hates that. It doesn't feel right. Okay, now I'm flickering again, guys. So if I do lose you, I'll come back and then have to end it after that. But anyways, I have 3DO Thursdays tomorrow at 8:30. I have Ninja Gaiden. I'm sorry, not Ninja Gaiden. Dragon's Lair. I have a hard time playing
Which in
that.
South Korea was called Ninja Gaiden. It wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, like
Oh, thank
Dragon's
God we
Lair
got
was
Nick back. I thought I was just going to be here with
really
everybody.
hard.
Just
I
complaining
do
about
have
how
to
the
I do
call
have to
went.
dart off. I got a weird call, so I have to go grab my laptop and go to work. I just wanted to say bye to everybody real quick before I go to dart off.
I think we'll end it because I'm about to looks like my lights are about to explode again and my computer's
Okay.
about to turn off. So
I want to
thank you
thank
everyone.
everybody. Nick lives because of all of you. Thank you.
Yes, Nick lives and thank you. You kept the show going because every time the lights went off, you guys put them right back on. So
Crab does so much walking, he'll never die. Jeez. All right, guys,
Someone's
I gotta
keep the lights
go.
on. I'm
I
not
do
walking,
too.
that's why
Have a
Thank
great
you
week,
guys. This is
everybody.
crazy. Ice storm. We'll see. We'll see you. Sorry for cutting it short. Thank you for all the support. It is greatly appreciated. Take care.
Hey, thanks everybody. Bye.
Bye.